Hi everyone, welcome back to another Disney Infinity tutorial. Now, as you can see from here, I've actually finally completed the Rogue One toy box level. It's taken a while to get there, and that's one of the reasons for the delay, is while I've worked out all the various logic and components and how they interact with the gameplay with the original plan that I had set. Now, sadly, due to the memory constraints, I've had to remove certain things like AT-AT. I've had to remove the fourth island, which you just couldn't handle, it'll overload it. But we have now completed the Citadel. I've now created the satellite dish. I've now got the objectives of transmitting the Death Star plans. I've also got the 2-star destroyers, which I did mention are going to crash and collide into each other. That actual tutorial has actually already been created and is ready to be posted, so that will be coming shortly. I know I promised that to be my next one, but it didn't flow with the way you construct the base. So I've had to rearrange my little path tools and everything, but I've tested this all and it actually all fits and works within the toy box. So I'm quite happy to carry on and show you the rest of the elements here and get you just show you what we've done on this particular part. Now, before I go into the actual gameplay, what we're going to show you in this clip, which is the Citadel mainframe, I'm just going to give a mention to a colleague of mine who does the Disney Infinity Collectors Club website. He's doing a massive competition on giving a load of free Disney Infinity stuff away, so check his site out. I'll leave a link on the site below. He's also dabbled in a number of his own tutorials to do with Disney Infinity, and you need to have a look at those, because I was planning to do how to blow up a planet, and he has done a fantastic job on a number of tutorials on there, so check his clip out, because I won't need to do that. His clips are so good, there's no need to improve on it. Go and have a look at him, have a check. He's really good. He's got his own YouTube channel as well, but he's starting. I've done 3 clips how to do a Death Star. Now, we'll come back to that in a moment, but anyway, in the meantime, this is what this clip is based on. This is accessing the mainframe computer within the Citadel. I wanted to have some way of unlocking certain doors. Now, my girls are slightly getting old enough now, don't like playing Disney Infinity. I make them, but they don't like it. But they are very heavily into the Uncharted range. They love Drake and all his adventures. And one thing I wanted to try and do here is some sort of puzzle. Yeah, and like an Uncharted game, there's a puzzle level. Now you'll see here, you've come into this room and you can see I can see yellow doors, and I can see a blue door, and I can see a red one, and I've got these like pressure pads. You know, like pressure pad seems to light on and light off. Okay, and with Naughty Dog, things that I've noticed in their games, they like to leave you little clues. So you'll see here we've got a number of pressure pads, but nothing seems to be happening. And as you come around, you can see there's a button here which is not working, and you've got a clue here showing you 3 strikes. Right, nothing has to be said. The clue is in the layout of the design. This is something I've been learning from Naughty Dog, how their maps are so geniusly laid out. So you look here, is if I go on and reduce back to 3 clicks, the button has now become activated. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to open those 2 doors, the yellow door, and we have to open the blue door to access the rest of the base. And that allows us to get our Death Star plans. So what here is the user can make their choice, yeah, and if they tag too many, it will close the option off. But what we'll do is we'll just tag 3 slots here. So we'll do our 3 slots. And what we're going to do now is we can press the button and see what happens. Now when we press the button, we have 3 bricks appear at the top of the box. Now this style of game here is very much like a game called Mastermind, where you have to match 3 colours. Now we need 3 yellow bricks to open the yellow door and 3 blue bricks to open the blue door. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to change my pattern, choose a different selection, and try and solve this puzzle. So click onto here now. I've now chosen different bricks, so I've now got 2 yellow but 1 blue. Okay, and I need 3 yellow to open the door. So again, pick a different item here and pick the item. So the puzzle is trying to work which one, and there's a various number of combinations, but you should be able to work it out. Now I've left it to be simple, and that's the one thing I noticed when we've been playing these Uncharted games, is that the clues are all there, and if you just take the time to look in the environment, you should be able to work them out. And that's one thing I love about Naughty Dog, they're just so genius. So I was trying to repeat the same issue. So you see here now is I've got the other side, but I've not got the other box. Okay, and that's the one thing I want to try and do here. So I'm now going to switch these items off, get me my 2 yellow back. I don't need that one, so we'll switch this one off. If I get this right, if I got it right, hold on. And see, I'm trying to check that, so press the button. I have the 3 doors now, and the yellow door is now open. So you heard a little chiming noise, so that has now worked and unlocked that door. And if I go onto this lift, which I've created, it will now take me to the other side. And I've shown you how to create the repulsor lifts, so they will work. So that's one little tip in here. Now, one thing we want to do then is you could also spice this up a little bit to make it a little bit more tricky. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to unlock and try to do the blue doors now. Okay, so I've got 3 records. I'm going to see the 3 on this side, see what we get. Right, I've got, how many have I got? I've got 1 blue and 2 red. Right, the red don't do anything. They're just your red herring. You like it? Oh, I thought it was genius. Okay, so we're going to come off here and we're going to try and work out the blue options. Now, what you can do here is if I get 2 of particular items in a clue, to make things tricky, I'm going to then add a load of stormtroopers to attack us. Okay, now depending on the combination you'll get, so you'll see here I've got two items, these don't matter, but if I get the 2 other boxes, what it will do is it will set a load of troops to attack me. Now the troops are really quite easy to kill, but the whole purpose of the troops is to try and distract you from what you're trying to plot in your head on where the bricks are. Now I left it switched off for the yellow door just so I could explain it to you, but in my final game I have them on both sets. And basically if you get 2 colours right and you don't get it, it will then set the alarm off. So you'll see here I now have 2 yellow bricks and now I have all these troops appear. Right? Now that's to distract you, to make the puzzle a little bit harder. Yeah, and you go, oh, I'm flipping heck, and as I start killing them all off, which is great, you'll now notice that the stormtroopers have been pressing and messing up all my colour pads. And that was an added bonus to this. It's like, great, now while I fight these all off and kill them off the system, yeah, they've now messed up what colour sequence I was learning, and again, to try and trick the user. You don't have to put the troops in, but it was just to make it a little bit harder while you're trying to guess it out and work out the gameplay. So we're going to go through in this clip and we're going to show you how to make this puzzle and how to unlock the doors by getting the right combination between the 3. And it's relatively straightforward, it's just a number of logic gates. Okay? But that theoretically is the process. All we need to do now is try and remember what colour sequence we've had, and then we can reset those settings. But that is what I'm showing you in this game, is trying to make more puzzles within your adventure. So it's not just a platform, it's not just a shooting game. We can actually then just try and set it up to say, right, we can do various puzzles and locks and keys and find our various treasures, whatever we're going to do, and whichever our adventures are going to be. And that's one of the reasons why I still come back to Disney Infinity. Now don't get me wrong, I always get a few little people that say, oh, who's still playing this game? I still play this game, but don't get me wrong, I still play the other games. The God of War game is amazing. Yeah, that is brilliant. A Way Out is also brilliant, so highly recommend those games as well. I love playing all games, so I still play it, but I always keep coming back to my Disney Infinity thing. Now my second clip I'm going to show you in the next day will also show you what happens when we move down these lifts and we get to those other areas, but I'll explain those in my next clip. But in the meantime, let's show you how to create this puzzle. So in part 5 we'd left you with just creating one lift, one little lift going across the side. So to speed things up, what I've done is I've actually created 2 lifts now on the other side of the door. So all I've done is put 2 lifts and just repeated those. So go do clip 5 again and you can just add the lift section on the side. Now the only difference here is I've just added a door. I've added blue doors. I've just put little blue bricks in the side, and I've just put a little door here. Now, because we're right at the very bottom of the map, I can't get the things to move down out the way. So instead, I've just got to move them to the side inside the brick area. And I've created my logic gates to move them and open those gates, and I've left them either side. So when I input a signal into those, they'll switch the path on, and they will then move across. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to now try and make my little computer section. So I've just clicked my bricks, my simple basic shapes, and I'm placing this in the middle of the room. Okay, so I'm just going to create 3 of there, and this purely just came by chance, because again, try and keep my bricks down as possible. So these are the 3 bricks I'm going to use in here. I was going to try and pick different types of formats to them. Again, just checking they are bang in the middle. Now I've also had to delete the maps out, so sorry, not delete the maps but delete that extra doorway, so I've sealed in the other doorway in, and it's worked out quite well. So when I've worked out the plan I was going to do with that, that's gone quite good. But you'll know here's the Tron options got my 3 like red bricks, and they lock individual sections. So I'm now just going to put those up so they now look like my mainframe, and obviously I'm going to move them up. Now I don't know whether I need to keep these on. The only difference with this is that you probably can't see the colour. So I wanted to to fit in range, because the reason why I'm putting this on here is that we are going to put the Jedi Temple over the top of this, but it's so much easier to build this logic before you do that, so that's one of the reasons why this clip has jumped ahead of my 2 Star Destroyers crashing. But it's easy obviously to set those all up and put them on the screen. Now if you look at my little bar here, look where we are on the graphics bar, we're right at the far right hand side on here, so that's quite tricky. Now what you'll see here now is I'm just putting in the shapes for the doors, and I wanted to try and shape the doors to look like they were pointing in that direction, and I don't think it really mattered. I think if I just done 3 bricks, I think I'd probably redo this again and use these as bricks. But there are some colours that I'd pre-checked, and I'm going to just go into my palette tool. So by clicking onto the object, I'm just going to set the palette to what's it, the blue. There are so many colours once now I've unlocked it, just finding them takes a while. Right, as we get there, come on. I'll miss it a fair few times. Where is it? Come on, blue, blue, blue. I think that's it. That's the blue. Right, so we've got the blue gloss. So that now matches that door. So I'm now going to get my other basic shapes after setting the theme. Then remember, when you set the theme, I repeat this throughout, because we've done the Rebel Cruiser, because we've done the base, we can't do theme all, otherwise it messes it all. So you just set the theme and then don't do theme all, otherwise you'll ruin your spaceship up above the map. Right, so we now do the same thing again, and we position them in place. Okay, now this is just so you can line up where the bricks are going to be. So I want to change the colour of that, and there's a red gloss that we can use. In fact, I don't want the red, I want the yellow gloss, sorry. So if I do triangle again on there, now when I go to triangle, just be wary, right? Just be careful on this process. There's a yellow, just a couple of bricks down here. Okay, you do square to set theme. Do not do the triangle to theme all, because then, like I say, everything you've done previously will be lost. And let's just say our swearing will be shocking. Right, I was just checking it was between 2. It's definitely yellow gloss that I used. Right, so now I've set that theme, I'm going to get my blocks, and now I'm going to put the other shapes in. So these are all yellow. And get the other shape. All in position, perfect. And then the middle part is just going to be 3 red bricks. Yep. So I'm going to put a 3rd brick in there. Chuck that in there. Okay. And then before I do it, change the colour. Now the reason why I'm changing the colour beforehand is that it doesn't tend to like jumping back and forth. And one thing you must do, by the way, is constantly save. I currently have 2 copies of the file saved at the same time, so I save it twice, just in case it should corrupt. There's a couple of times when I did the big Death Star that it crashed a couple of times and I couldn't reopen it, so just in case it ever happens again, I made sure I always save it twice now. Always paranoid I'm going to lose it. Okay. I was looking at different shapes. I don't know what I was doing. I thought I was trying to do a triangle front. It didn't work. I changed my mind on here. It was a square. But anyway, I've got my shapes here. These are the shapes that we're going to use to connect up to the paths. So I'll move these back and forth. There you go. Where's the square? Not going to work. Okay, so I'll move that in. So there's my shapes done. That's my mainframe. We're going to get those now linked to the various platforms that we have on our screen. Right, so that goes all quite reasonably nice. Right. So now we've got our shapes in. What we can do here is we can now, as you'll see, I'll link those all quite nicely. We can now grab the next section of those items, which is going to be the pressure pads. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go back to my unfiltered, and I'm going to go to my gameplay toys. And under me gameplay toys, we've got the pressure pads. Now I played around with different things to use, whether I was going to use stones or whatever, but the pressure pads are quite good because you could, like you could say, you can switch them on and off. So I quite like these ones. So these ones are here. These are from your Guardians and Galaxies. Should be able to unlock these. And again, choose the style or how you want them positioning. But I wanted 3 either side. So you'll see I'm doing the square box. I'm leaving a gap after it, and then I'm going to do 3. Okay, and you'll need. I've left a good square gap as well. So those 3 are lined up there. I'm going to twist them 2 all the same way round. So leave a gap square. Right, cool. And those 3. and purely by chance, by not able to have the fourth island, it allowed me to hide what the user's got to do, so they'd have to come in and come around and have a look. So that was quite handy, right? So those pressure pads now are going to control the movement of those objects. We don't want it to be just one side, it wants to be a mixture of those little settings. Okay, and I've been dying to use this tool since I've got the Marvel Battlegrounds tool, which is this one here with the lock. So this was another excuse just to use this one. The only downside is you can only have it activated for about 15 seconds, which is a little bit annoying. You can't leave it permanently switched on, but it will automatically close off as well after a while, which is quite handy. Right, so we'll stick that one there. So we've got that item on the screen, which is perfect. So you'll now see the little shapes all turning up quite nicely. Right, all linked through, which is all good. Right, so as you'll see here, these little pressure pads. Now what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to change the settings for each of these pressure pads. Right, and this is important. Now these pressure pads have multiple colours, so they can have a different combination. So you could make this really complicated if you wanted to. But if you go to the properties, it says how many colours do you want. Now in this case I'm only setting them to one colour. Yeah, and I am switching them that you can switch the things off. That is important. So you'll see that I've changed it to one colour and I've switched the setting off. Otherwise you can put it on, you won't be able to switch it back on and off. I want it to go on and off. Now I need to do that for all these gates. So you're going to go into each one, go to the properties of it, bring them down to one colour, yeah, and switch it off. Otherwise it goes to a range of colours and the user could be there forever. It'll be too confusing. So it was limited, so they're all only going to be blue lights. Okay, and you need to do that for every single pressure pad that you have here. Now to save time I'm going to speed up a little bit for you on there so you don't have to watch me do every single one, but change each one of those to one colour. Right, so now that we've got that done, we'll just go and test those, check those pressure pads work. So they go on when we walk onto it, which is perfect, which is lovely. And then what happens when you go on, and if you walk back over the top of them, they now go off. They don't go between multiple colours, so we can see the user can quite simply work out that they go on and off. So we've now got our pressure pads, and they all need to be able to do that. So it's always good to test that they all work them on your system. Right, so what we're going to do is deal with this button. How do we get this button to be switched on or switched off? So we have to make this be only available when you've got 3 buttons pressed. So what we're going to do is just going to go to the properties of that button. Now like I mentioned, the issue with this button is it will only stay open for so long and then it will automatically close. It doesn't automatically stay open. So I'm going to open the duration of that button under the settings to stay open as long as possible. Okay, so the user doesn't realise it, it will then close if they haven't gone and done, if they haven't selected any of those buttons. So we presume that the user is going to come in and have a wander around to see what can happen. Yeah. Now what we're going to do now is we need a couple of little things here. We need a couple of logic gates and we need a couple of counters. And I found a way without getting too complicated to switch between the two. So these are 2 logic gates. Now these 2 logic gates are going to be increase my counters and the other one's going to decrease them. Okay, so that's what these 2 logic gates are going to do. They're going to control various counters. Now I'm going to have 3 counters. Okay, now the 3 counters will keep going up and down and changing. So one will be set to 2, yeah. One of them's going to be set to 3, which is the target, and the other one's going to be set to 4. Okay, if you do count to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, don't give a monkeys, yeah. But we only want 3 to be the right one. So once you've got to 4 or you keep going up to more, we're going to say once you get the target to 4, I want you to switch the button off. If you're less, I want you to switch those items off as well. It comes apparent when you see it, but it's quite a clever little tricky method to do. So what we're going to do here is we've got these different counters that will switch these gates on. So if we go to properties of each one of these counters, we're going to change these to in this case is 2, right? And do you wish it to be displayed? Don't need to. You can leave it on if you want to, but we're going to hide that off. Don't need that one shown. Yeah, I don't need to know how many you've selected. Okay, and when it reaches its target, do you want to reset? Definitely don't want that to happen, right? On this side, we're going to set this to 4. So on the property side here, we're going to change that to count 4, and again, we're not going to make that visible. So we're going to go down, not visible, and we're not going to reset the counter, so we still want it to go up and down. Yeah, which is quite good. And the middle one we're going to set to 3. Okay, and the difference with that one is when we set to 3, we are going to leave this one on so the user can see how many pressure pads they've done. Okay, so we are going to leave it on. It doesn't reset, so that's visible, and that is visible to the users. They can see it. So the count on the screen will mean something to them when they walk over them. So they'll say, "Oh, let's count in 1, 2, 3." So what we do here is when we can do new logic connection, when target is reached, so when we press 3 pressure pads, yeah, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to activate that button, which is quite good. Now these targets say, well, when you get to these targets, so new logic connection, when target reached, and it's only 2, I want you to deactivate that button. Okay, and the other one is if you go too high, new logic connection, when target reaches 4, then we've gone too high, then again that wants to switch on, can you deactivate that option, which is quite cool. So these two logic gates, like I mentioned, switch the items on. So in this case, new logic connection, when we output a signal from this logic gate, what we're going to do here is we're going to increment by 1, and we do that for all 3 items. New logic gate, on output, increment by 1. So all 3 counters are going to be counted. Each one are going to keep, all 3 of them are going to keep a track of what ones we pressed. But when we get to the magic 3, that's the one that switches the other ones off. The other, whether you go 4, 5, 6, it doesn't matter. Once you've gone above 4, it will switch those settings off. So all those will increase by 1. Yeah, so that's there to increase by 1. Now this one does the opposite. This does the decrease. So on output, can you decrease by 1? So decrement by 1. And again, you do that for all these settings. So new logic connection, on output, can we decrease that by 1? And one of the things one of the reasons why for the so lengthy delay for the clips was I couldn't get I couldn't work out what I wanted to do in the middle of the temple inside the Citadel. I couldn't work this out, and this is one of the things that took a while to get my head around, how I was going to get you to get into the plans. Right, now what we're going to do here with these pressure pads is we're going to say, right, not when you step on it, by the way, it's when you turn it to blue, yeah? So when you've got a number of colours there, but it will only ever go blue because you've set it to one colour. So in this case, we say when you turn it to blue, which is on, yeah? So when that goes in blue, I'd like you to insert input a signal into the add option. So in this case here, when we go into that option there, can we input a signal? That will increase all my counters by 1. Okay, so we can then do new logic connection. When we turn it off, can we do the opposite, and can we take a signal off the item? So then our counters will all decrease. So it'll keep a track of which ones we've gone. Now I need to do that on every single item, so I'm now going to have to go to each one and say, right, logic gate on there, you're going to input the signal in, but we need to do it on each of these gates. So I'm going to speed this through, but go into each one, say, right, new logic connection, when we turn blue, and don't pick any other colour because no other colours are going to show, input a signal into one that increases all the counters. So the other logic connection is, when new logic connection, when we turn it off, can you input a signal into the off button, which will decrease. And like I say, you need to do that for all the buttons so they're all set up. So I'm just going to speed that up again so you don't have to watch me do it, but make sure you go through and do that for every single one of those pressure pads. Right, so as you'll see here, as I click onto the pads, they will increase by numbers, so 1, 2. Now I've got 2 at the moment, so that's on the screen, got to 3. Now if I go here, the button is open, look at that. If I go to 4, it closes it automatically. Alright, so it doesn't matter even if I have 5 or 6, it's still closed, yeah? So if I take it off, right, that's down to 4, still no joy. Now it wants us to go back down to 3. It now reopens the pad's now back open again. And it'll stay on 15 seconds. So that's all working. Cool, so we've now got our little button there working quite nicely. So what I'm doing, I'm just going to move this button forward just a little bit, right? And what we're going to look under here is we're going to go to our decorations. I believe it's under decorations, let's have a look. And the little symbols. Okay, and we're going to try and get the clues with it because we can't do the text tool, which is really frustrating. We're going to have to try and give clues to the user to work out what they've got to do. Right, so I'm going to grab these X's here and I'm going to stick these on this side. And again, you don't see them straight away. You only see them once the user walks round, and then hopefully they put the 2 and 2 together. Right, I can now push that button back in the side. The weird thing is you can't put that while the button's there, but once you've got them on, you can push that item back, which is odd. Right, so we've got those all set up, which is all quite handy. So far so good. Right, so now we've got the pressure pads working. What we need to do now is work out which pressure pad relates to which colour shape. So what we're going to do here is, now that we've got the shapes here, the shapes just show where we want them to appear, but we are now going to move the shapes in and place them into the positions where we're going to relate it to a pad. This is just so for our working out so we can see it. So what I'm going to do now is that you'll see I'm grabbing these objects and saying where do I want which shape to relate to it, because I don't want the pads to be matched up with the exact spot, so it wants to be in a different combination. So I'm going to pick a different square each and move them in a different place within the screen. So you'll see here I'm placing next to where I want the N1 to appear, so they're my blue boxes. If I go pick the red ones, where do I want the red ones to appear? So you'll see here I've got one on each one, I put 2 red on the other side. So again, I'm positioning these, and these will then get linked to a path tool in the meantime, but this helps us look at which one's working out. Because with all the things going off, it's very easy to get confused here. And by doing it this way, you actually get to see the squares visually and able to work out, okay, that's got to be linked to this pressure pad. So these are all the squares that when they press the certain pressure pad, that's the one that gets moved. Okay, so we are lining up the boxes next to the pressure pad so we can see that they don't follow in sequence, they're in a different order. Alright, so that one's going to go for that one in the middle. Okay, so the one in the middle we'll probably put at the end because everyone thinks it's an end piece, and the triangle one, which I don't want to think, we'll put that in the middle. Right, so that is really the puzzle solved. That's where the yellow boxes are, and that's where the blue boxes are. So now that we know which pads we're going to use them though, we're going to leave them there. So what we're going to do now is what happens when they get the answer right. Okay, so I'm just going to click onto this logic gate and just get a copy of it. That's quite a quick way of getting the tip. And I need obviously 3 gates to be passed. So I'm just going to move these to the side, and I'm going to, by each door, I'm going to put the 3 gates here to relate to the blue door. So as you'll see here, when we do our test, when we press the button, we'll input a signal down this gate, and if the signal gets all the way through, it means all blue box appears. And we're going to do a signal on the other side, so we'll put a signal through these series of logic gates, and if you can get through on these, then we know the yellow door's been opened. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that when we put a signal that those gates are all closed, and if those gates are all closed, then the signal will travel through for the door. So in this case we can say, right, on the pressure pad, yeah, so we have to do this, we go right on there, when you step onto the blue, yeah, so when you turn to blue, you have got one of the right clues. So therefore, can you close, not open, it needs to be closed. So if it goes blue, I'd like you to close the gate. Yeah, so in this yellow one here, so this yellow case, and this will be weird, if it goes yellow, if it turns blue, then can we close the second? Yeah, and the same with the third yellow one. So on the pressure pad, new logic connection, when it's turned blue, because there's only one light on, can you close the third gate? And all 3 are now closed. Okay, now what if you don't select them again? Well, if you don't select them, we have to reopen them again. So in this case, new logic connection, when turned off, and this is the bit you need to make sure, you need to now open the gates back up. Okay, so remember that new logic connection, when you turn it off, so when you unselect it, can you reopen the gate? Okay, in my first run I forgot to do that, I did them both as closing and it messed it all up. So you must make sure one, when you go blue, closes the gates, and the other one reopens it, so when it goes off it reopens those gates up. And I have to do the exact same now with the blue squares. And to save some time, I'm just going to speed up, but I'm going to repeat the same process just next to the pressure pads, next to the blue ones. The red ones don't do anything. So they are now all linked to those series of gates. Now what we can do here is when we do our test, when we input a signal through this gate, when we finally get it through, if that is blocked, so new logic connection, if input is blocked, I would like you to input a signal into here. Okay. Now if that signal is blocked, so new logic connection, if that is blocked, that means we've got 2 colours. Yeah. So if that is blocked, I'm wanting you to put in signal into here. Right, and if that is blocked, so new logic connection, and we have another blocked item, yeah, fantastic. If that is blocked, then we can open that gate, so we can say, right, go and input a signal into there, which will just turn the path on and make the door open. At any one of those stages, if it goes to output instead of blocked, we could link it to an enemy wave generator, so every time you get it wrong, enemies will appear. Yeah. So again, do the set of chain. When input blocked, input a signal, and if that is blocked, input a signal, and if that is blocked, can we open up the door? Yeah, it's basically that's how it works through the list. There's a number, like I say, different stages, and one of the things, like I say, took a while was to plot out how I break this clip down to show you how to construct it instead of just randomly putting things together here on the screen. Right, so we have now got our logic sections there that will test whether the right password has been entered. Right, so now we've done that, what we need to do is we still need the bricks to move. Yeah? Okay, so we still need them to physically go up and down on the screen and move on the screen. So I'm going to need the path tool. And what we're going to do here is we're going to create the movement of the bricks. Now the bricks to start with aren't actually on show. So you'll see here I'm going to the top of the brick, then I'm moving down. So I'm going to move down to the bottom, not actually selected anything yet. So that's the base. So I want to go a little bit further down, right to the very bottom. Click once on my button and just move that straight to the top. Okay, and click once on there. So it's going, but it's going upwards, not down. Otherwise, they disappear. And I'm going to have to do that on each one. So you're just going to the bottom, right to the very bottom of the screen, line up the box, hit the button once, and I'm putting all these paths in. So you need 9 paths for the 9 bricks. And all the way back up. Perfect. Okay. And obviously I'll speed this up as well, but we're going for every single one we put the paths in here. And just line that back up. I think I've shown it for all of them here, just to show how I do it. But again, just all these dots here. Now obviously I'm trying to do as much connection as possible before I put the actual objects to the path, because once the objects go to the path they are not going to match their corresponding pressure pad. So I leave that as one of the last things to do, because that's why it allows you to see where they go. But once we put them into their rightful place, you're not going to be able to remember which pressure pad is, unless of course you've made a record of that or written it down. But none of us write this down, we just wing it as we go along. Right, let's go along here, and we've got these all set up. So now all the paths for the objects to move up and down is now set, which is a good thing. I don't need to worry about the speed. I'm quite happy with them to be all on, which is good. Right, so now I've got all those objects on, which is cool. I'm just going to pinch another path tool here. Okay, and we're going to need a logic gate for every single one of these paths. Okay, so we're going to just do it for each one. And the reason for that is that different bricks move depending on which one you've selected. So we need to track which ones do we want to move and which ones don't we want to move. So this is what this logic gate manages. So what we're going to do with these ones, whenever you press a pressure pad, yeah, what we're going to do here is here, just like before, new logic connection, when we turn it blue, can we close the gate? Okay, and when you turn it off, so new logic connection, when you turn it off, so when you step off it, can you open the gate? And what will happen there is, if the ones are blocked, which is only 3 of them, when we input a signal to all these 9 logic gates, they will only make those ones that are switched as blocked to on, so only those shapes will move. So that's the plan of it. So you need to go through every single one of these 9 gates you've just added, and you have to link them to the corresponding pad and say if it turns blue, close it. If you turn it off, can you open it? You need to do that for each one of these. I'll speed this one up as well for you. Right, so we've now got those 9 ones going round the pressure pads, all linked to their individual pad. By stepping it on, closes it. By stepping it off, reopens it again. So what we can do now is, when we send the signal through to these gates, we know if they're blocked, then we want that unit to move. So in this case, we do a new logic connection on this gate. On input blocked, we know that that's the shape you want to move. So we can now look at that red brick and say, right, that brick is linked to that path. So I can see which one I want that to be. So I'm going to do a new logic connection. Can we turn that path on? Okay, which will then move that particular item. Okay, so for the next one here, which is the yellow one, so we're going to do a new logic connection. When that input is blocked, it doesn't match the corresponding path. That shape's the corner one, so it's this corner tool. So I'm going to go right down to that path tool, yeah, and I'm going to switch that one on. Okay, so it's looking for which one is, so it knows which one is blocked. So this is the blue one. So new logic connection. When this input is blocked, can you do the blue one? And this is why it's really vital to keep the shapes where they are and don't attach them to the path to the very last bit, because you'll have forgotten which shape they relate to. Yeah, so I'm going through all these ones now, matching up where they appear on the screen. So this one is the yellow one. Yeah, so new logic connection, and it's the middle one. So when that input is blocked, I want to do the yellow middle one there. I'm going to switch those on, and you need that to link it to the path. So go around each one of those and link the right brick to the right pressure pad to the right path. So we've now got them all set up now. So all those bricks are set up on the screen. So what we need to do here is we need to activate those bricks to move. So we're going to create a number of objects. I'm going to do 3 paths options here, and they're going to do different options. Okay, so the object to this here is that when we press this one, I'd like you to basically switch all the paths off. Yeah, switch them off, because they're all switched on at the moment, and they go through on the screen. So on this case here, we're going to do new logic connection. On output, yeah, can we turn off all the paths? So switch them all off for us. Yeah, so that's what we want to do. So I'm going to go for every one of those paths now has to be linked to this logic gate. So new logic connection, on output, can we switch off this one? And you need to do it for all 9. Now, like you go, you're going to take forever. It doesn't actually take that long. It takes like I've done 2 already, and I'm nearly a third of the way through. It's quite quick, but I'm still going to speed up through this. But it is quite quick to do, so don't worry about it. Let me just speed up here and get these all done. So now that logic gate there has got all those 9 get switched off. Okay. Now what we're also going to do here is new logic connection. On output, can I input this one box? So it's now switched them all off. So new logic connection. Can we input a signal in there? So that goes into there. Now that they're all switched off, what I'm going to do now is reset them all. So I'm going to do new logic connection. On output, yeah. Can we reset the paths? So I'm going to do reset and play. Now they're not going to actually move because they're all switched off. So in this case I'm going to go down the option and do reset and play. And guess what? I've got to do that to every single 9 paths again. Like, no. So again, new logic connection, on output. Yeah, can I go and just do reset and play on every single path from that gate? So again, I'll speed this one up as well for you, but do it for all 9 points. So now that is linked to all 9, right? Plus the other part, there should be 10 connections. So a good way to sometimes check what you're going to do. But I'll just do the last one. So the very last one here, new logic connection, on output, can we do a reset and play? So we've got 9 points plus the one from the previous path. There should be 10 in total. So if I go into here, look at my paths, there should be, as I count down, there should be 10 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which is great. So that has now switched all them off, and they're all ready to go again. All the bricks have gone back to the other screen. So we'll do one more thing. New logic connection. On output of that, once the bricks have all been moved, can we input a signal into this logic gate? So that goes into that. And on this logic gate, can we now input a signal into those 9 items? Yeah. So we're going to do to each one of those 9 ones go and the rest. Now, depending whether they're blocked, will depend on which ones will actually then get switched on. So new logic on output. Can we input a signal into there? Okay, and I'm going to do those for each 9, and basically that means is if it's blocked, which means the pressure pad's on, that brick, the correcting brick path will be turned on, and only that path will move up. That's why you have to do it for all 9. Then again, I'm just speeding this through up, but it's the same put for all of them. You just basically make sure you just input a signal into it. Okay, so that's now got all going around the edge. All those are done, linking all those through. Okay, and that will get our bricks to move. Yeah, so they're all linked through, getting our 2 links, which is brilliant. Now this is all triggered here when we input a signal into this particular path. So when we press that button there, right, that is our test. Our button says, do they match? So go input section, new logic connection, when you input, can we input a signal into that path? And by insetting that into that path, that resets all the bricks and gets all the actual components to move up and down and show you what result you've got by pressing that button. Okay. Right, so now we've got the logic going through. What we need to do here is we need to do one more test. What happens if we've got the gate open? So all those bricks are moved. So again, the last object is we've reset them. The bricks have all now moved, appeared on the screen. So we're going to do a new logic connection on output. Can we input a signal into this path? And what we're going to do from here is when we input a signal into there, we can say, right, what I'd like you to do now is on new logic connection, yeah, on output, can I input into these outside ones? And if those are all blocked, then the door will open, which means you've got all the yellow. Now the reason why I chose a logic gate is because I could have the option to have it switched on and off, so therefore once the gate's closed I could close that one, so you had to do the yellow door first before you did the blue door. In this particular instance I left them both open. I let the user choose which order they wanted to go into, but both been put a signal down there and it will travel down there. If they're all blocked, doors open. Okay, so that is our little setup that we've got there on the screen. Right, so what I'm going to do now we've got that set up, I'm going to go and find another tool. Find it. Right, I'm just going to put a little button here, and this little button here is to test it. Okay, and the reason for this button here is that when we press this button, it's actually going to switch all the paths off. Yeah, and by doing so, having that button there, we're going to delete it off afterwards. That button, well, now when I press it, because none of them are open, it will then switch off all the paths. So press that, switch them all off, and they're all done. Now the path is all switched off. Yeah. What I can do now, yeah, is what we can do now is I can now go and link all the various objects. Yeah. So that goes through and resets them all. I can now go and link those boxes to the actual path. So new logic connection. So if I go into there, press the square button, new logic connection, and we're going to do new path connection, and now I must make sure I link it to the corresponding unit. Now when I connect it to the path, what I need to do here is once you've got the shape on there, just go to the shape, go to the properties of the shape once you've attached it to the path. Alright, and you've got to change the speed's fine. I'm happy with the speed being 100, but you must change it that it's one way and stop. By doing it one way and stop means I don't have to have a logic gate to switch them all off again, because there's 9 options. So one way and stop, it will just go up to the top of the screen if they're turned on. Okay, so I'm going to do the red ones first and connect those shapes up. You're going to need to do it for all the shapes, making sure you've got them in the right order. So I'm going to link that one across into here. And link that shape in, and that's the only time when you move the shapes across, because I tell you, you wouldn't be able to see that otherwise. Trying to keep it as easy as simple as possible. And like I say, they take a while for me to put these clips together, so sorry it was a lot longer than I had planned on the previous sets. But once I'd worked the logic out, what I need to do is then try to find a way how to explain this to you guys in a way that hopefully you can make sense and follow. So I have to test it through and work it out. I have a little sketch pad that I try and write little ideas down when I'm bored. But hopefully I'll spoil this weekend with a number of clips following this. So there's not just going to be this one. There should be one there every day at least for the next 4 days, I'm hoping. Alright, and just got to link all those shapes up to the right bricks. But make sure every time you connect it to the path, then click onto the shape, and on the shape can you then make sure you say it's one way and stop. So you'll see now I'm doing it on all anyway, but you'll see I'm just connecting them to the shape, yeah, and then go to the properties of that shape and changing that last thing there to say the last option is a one way and stop, and you need to do it for all. Now I'm just going to speed through now as we get those shapes done, but you get the gist of it now, what you have to do for all the shapes. So I will speed this up and see what you think. Okay, so now all our shapes have disappeared underneath the mat. We now have the logic we go through. We don't actually need that button anymore. That button can actually go. We can delete that off. That's no longer needed. That's did its job for our quick test. The logic still needs to stay there, but the button we can get rid of. Okay, so what we can do next is we can make a sound noise. So I want to let the user know that we've actually opened the door. Some sort of grinding noise mechanics worked. So in here on the properties here, we're just going to go down here. We can make it not 3D sound, means you'll hear it anywhere, otherwise it'll only be in the facility. Right, so on that output there, if we do get an input blocked from there, so if that is blocked from there as well, we know the door's opening. So we're going to do a general sound, and we're going to do a whining noise. I think it is the one I use. It's the same one I use for my trash compactor clip. But strangely, not many people liked or watched this. I did one ages ago, try how to build your own trash compactor. I know there is a trash compactor you can unlock, but I did my own one, but not many people like that one. I quite liked it, but oh well. Right, same thing again, on output. What we'll do on here, we can say, right, can we have a normal sound, and we can have the grinding noise. And that allows the user to know that something has happened before pressing it again, and they will see the door, so they get to turn around and, oh, what's happened, have a look around and see that there has been a change and the door has opened. So that's a little telltale sign that you can have, which is quite good, without it saying congratulations, door open. And then the other thing we're going to do is do an enemy generator. So let's find an enemy generator. Where are they? Enemy wave generator. So we'll grab one of those, and I'm going to link those to 4 points around the edge. Yep. So what I want to do here is I want to link this through the options. So we're going to say, right, now in my final game I'm going to say, right, if one of these is locked, so new logic connection for one of these points. So when you get to here, you got, that means that's 2 boxes that you've got keyed in. Yeah, so on that box there, new logic connection on output, and then you can do that on the screen. Yeah, so depending on how difficult you want. If you want it really difficult, do it on the third one. If you want it, do it on the first one. If you want it really difficult, do it on the third one. So new logic connection, generate wave. Yeah, and I can do the same with the other end as well for the other box of the screen. Yeah, so that there, when it gets to the third box, that means I've only got 2 of them on output, not blocked, on output generate wave. Now in this case, if it gets to here, only 1 block you've got open, which is trickier, but I can do new logic connection on output, which means it's not blocked, so I didn't do it. Can you generate waves? So depending on which route you go, you could have them both going on the screen. And like I showed in my demo, I broke that link in the demo purely on the cost, purely on the purposes, so you could see me allowed to explain it in the game. Right, if we now go and configure the wave, have a couple of troopers in there, let's go and add those in. And we're getting there, almost ready to the end of this clip. Right, so while I just set the troops here, what we're going to do in the next clip, which is going to do, is we're going to then put the Jedi Temple on top of this, and then we're going to do the logic that allows us, now we've got the 2 areas, how do we get the Death Star plans, which will then take us on the outside of the temple, which we then have to climb up like they did in the film to the top. So that then the gameplay changes again from a platforming type thing where we have to climb and do various careful jumping. So trying to mix up the type of gameplay, going from fighting, from puzzles, to platforming, to space battles. That's the whole purpose of this idea, this level. I wanted to try and mix the whole thing up. So it wasn't just one type of game. So it kept it the variety in the level. We'll see when we do a full run through at the end of this to show you the whole lot. Now, if you've stayed with me all this time for the 48 minutes that we're into the clip so far, just to let you know, I've got roughly about 20 clips planned. I feel I'm a bit like coming to the new Marvel plan where they've got films coming out till 2025. But I've got about 20 clips planned. So I'll have to see what my good friend the Disney Infinity Collectors Club does. See what Eric, my friend, does on that screen, because he may say on the clips that may jump in and see what he gets in between. I'm just going to put these little locators where I want them surrounding you, so depending where you are. I didn't want them just in one area. So I just link these on here. And then I'm going to move them across. Now you can see here my graphics bar is not fully full yet. We're still okay at this particular stage. But we do test this out. So I'm going to go to my locators and just point this up here. If you don't want the extra hassle, don't even have to put the wave generator in, just exclude that item out. Makes it a lot easier. Right. We'll just connect these all up. Right, now the last thing we need to do after we've got this wave generator set up is we have to move all those logic gates out the way. Now we can't move them underneath the map because we're at the very bottom, because I specially designed this to be 7 blocks high. So when I've moved them to the side where the fourth panel, the fourth island that we closed, I've hit them to that side of the screen. So I've moved them out the way. Now I'll just go through that clip, do that, and show you how they've moved them. That is it for this particular stage. I hope you've liked it. I've got more clips coming hopefully tomorrow. I'm just going to roll the voice out over for those, but I hope you like this. I hope you like a little different variation to what I normally do. As you'll see here, I've just shown you how they've done. Please obviously tag it if you like it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll get the next clip to you a lot sooner than the last one. Thanks, guys. Bye.